Hello everyone, this is Shawn with Rock Island Armory. Today we're going to show you the disassembly and reassembly of our 6-inch line of 1911s. This will pertain to the 45 and the 10mm models. So let's get started. First thing you're going to want to do is visually and physically check to make sure firearm is empty and there's no loaded ammunition around. Once all that's been done, make sure we got our tools that we're going to be using in place, and we'll get started. So first things first, we know it's unloaded. Going to line up to the half moon disassembly notch, not the slide stop notch. Reach around, push on the slide stop, pull it out, set it aside, let the slide go back forward, slide and frame comes apart. We'll set the frame off to the side for now. Most of the work will be done on the slide. So the first thing you're going to have to do on the 6-inch models is it does have a 2-piece guide rod. And to get to the 2-piece guide rod, you will need a regular screwdriver to unscrew the front half from the back half. And you can do it in two different ways. You can leave it on the gun, or I do it by taking it off the gun and just putting downward pressure where the guide rod won't spin. So let's begin here. Now there's a lot of threads on it, so it does take a little while. Now once the two pieces do come apart, the back part of the recoil spring is no longer captured. The guide rod is no longer captured. So it could go flying across the room, so I always try to keep a hand on it, grab it, pull out the back of the guide rod, the recoil spring. Now you're going to want to make sure this is your barrel link. Barrel link needs to be towards the back. That way you can remove the reverse plug. All right, the reverse plug is out. The barrel link now slides forward. Barrel comes out of the front of the slide. All right, so we've got the barrel and recoil system out. Let's begin on the extractor, firing pin stop and spring. So come in, push down on the firing pin to get the stop to remove. Keep your thumb captured on the firing pin for it doesn't shoot across the room. Remove the firing pin and spring. Once those are removed, we can begin on the extractor. With the extractor tool, you're going to push down on the face of the hook of the extractor. Depending on the caliber, you can just push straight down, or you got to push down and away like on the 10mm, because of the 10mm extractor does set over the breech face just slightly. So the extractor's out. Now you're going to want to wipe everything off. When you guys bring your firearm home for its first initial cleaning from being purchased, there's a lot of oil on the firearm. It is not a lubricant of any type. It's a rust preventative. So you want to try to get as much of that out as you can, especially on all the locking engagements, rails, lugs, barrels, all that. To do that, there's a couple different things you can do. We use Slip 2000 products. So the oils, the solvents, but you know, hops or just about any commercially available solvents or oils will work. Me personally, I recommend staying with synthetic oils. A CLP of some sort works really well also. Get all of it all cleaned out. Get the barrel all cleaned out, because these are 1911s. There will be little, you know, these are all metal firearms, so there will be little metal flakes and everything that you'll notice that you'll want to get cleaned out of there. Okay, now that we got the basic field strip done, now we're going to go into a full detail strip of the frame with all the fire controls. And to do so, the first thing you need to do is have the hammer cocked back and make sure the thumb safeties are fully disengaged and engaging as they should. Now you're going to want to put the thumb safety up right in the middle between on and off, and that will, when you can release it from its little collar and get it to split. All right. So that's out. Thumb safety's now out. Now on some of the firearms, there's more spring tension than others. So keep an eye on the plunger spring. All right, now the hammer can go down. Don't just let the hammer fall. Press the trigger, let the hammer come forward. There's a couple of things that you can do. You can use a punch of some sort. I recommend going to our website and buying a couple of little factory replacement parts, buy an extra firing pin, because you can literally take the complete gun apart what you need to for a complete fill strip with just an extra firing pin. So to do that, we make sure the hammer's down, tap the pins. All the pins come out from the left side. You start from the left side and push them through to the right side. Okay. Okay, so that's out. Now that's going to be under a little bit of pressure, so you're going to want to press on the mainspring housing, remove the firing pin, slide down, pull out the grip safety, set it aside. Mainspring housing now comes out. Hammer strut goes forward, sear spring comes out. All right, now back to your extra firing pin. You can come push the pin. Now these pins come from the right side out through the left. Okay, and reverse the same way when you reassemble the firearm. So now we got both hammer pin and sear pin out, hammer's out, just a light tap on the table, out comes the sear and the disconnector. We'll set those aside. Okay, now that we got the sear and disconnector out, now we're going to remove the magazine catch and the trigger assembly. To do that, you're going to need a small flat-bladed screwdriver. The magazine release assembly, you're going to push in about halfway. And turn counterclockwise. Once that's removed, once it's already locked in its notch, it'll pop right out. Once the magazine assembly is removed, the trigger can now be completely removed. Now, once it's at this point, you can clean, brush off, get everything. Recommend don't take any tools or files to the inside of the guns. It will void the factory warranty. Once all the parts are wiped down and a light coat of oil on the moving parts, you can start reassembling, and it's just the exact reverse order. So you'll begin with the trigger, magazine release, again press on it to where it's halfway. All right, make sure that's functional. Next is to install the sear and disconnector. Okay, so this is your disconnector, this is your sear. Your sear sits on just like so, where the legs of the sear is resting on top of the shelf of the disconnector. So you're going to place that in here, get it pressed up on its hole, grab your sear pin. All right, get that lined up. Notch in the sear pin, you got to make sure that notch is towards the back of the frame, because that's what the right side of the ambidextrous safety locks into. Next step is to install the hammer. Okay, hammer strut going to be rocked forward. Now this is an important part, you guys. The sear spring's got 3 ears on it, 3 legs. The back leg, the leg that arches back, is what engages and disengages grip safety. The center leg is what pushes on the disconnector and moves it up and down. The left sear leg or sear spring has a hook on the end, and this got to set on top of the sear leg, not below the sear leg. All right, once we make sure everything's in there just how it's supposed to be, we can now slide the mainspring housing up halfway, lower the hammer strut, install the ambidextrous safety. Okay, make sure it's riding in the little notch that's in the sear pin. Once you've got that side started, now you're going to line up the strut where it's lining up to the plunger inside the mainspring housing. You can start with your hammer, your mainspring housing pin. You can just get it started. You don't have to worry about putting it in all the way because there is a detent in here and a notch. So once we got that, cock the hammer back, install your plunger spring. Then now the left side of the thumb safety. Again, you're going to go back to your firing pin, your extra firing pin. All right, same thing. You're going to have the thumb safeties engaged halfway between on and off. Press on the plunger. Give it a good thing. If you've got a nylon hammer, slight tap to make sure the tongue and groove joint where the two parts of the ambidextrous safety meet well together. All right, you can press the trigger, bring the hammer back down to relieve the tension from the mainspring. Grab your firing pin and finish tapping in the mainspring housing pin. All right, so that's the complete disassembly of the frame. Now this would relevant to any 1911 that we manufacture. The only exceptions would be the Baby Rock, that's a little bit different, and the new 22 Magnum that is pretty much identical other than the bow of the trigger is a little wider because the frame is a little wider to accommodate that caliber. So with that, we can move back to the top end of the firearm. So we'll set the frame aside. Okay, so we've got the slide, everything's cleaned out. You guys have blown everything out, got all the rust preventative off the inside from inside the extractor hole and the firing pin hole. Now we're going to begin reassembly. You'll start with your extractor. Make sure it's all clean of debris, no burrs or anything anywhere. And install that. Just get it flush to the back radius of the slide. Okay, firing pins, springs. All right, firing pin springs do have a closed tight end and an opened end. The tight end presses on to the firing pin, just like that. That way it stays captured on there. All right, so you'll install that. Press down on the firing pin. Get your stop in there. Now your stop is essentially holding it in. Go back to your extractor tool. Press down on the firing pin. And you're able to push the stop up until it clicks. Make sure it's not binding. Everything's working as it should. Now we can begin on the barrel. Same thing on the barrel. The 1911s is a wet platform firearm, so it does require lubrication. We will take our lube, put a little bit on the locking lugs of the barrel, a little bit on the locking lugs inside the slide, a few drops down each rail. All right, then we can install the barrel. Make sure the link is forward. Engages. All right. Now you could take a little bit and put on the link area. Now we're going to install, now we're going to install the reverse plug. Reverse plugs are important. We see a lot of these back because of improper assembly. On the reverse plug, you do have the half moon, half circle cut out around here, and that's got to sit flush against the back of this spring tunnel. This is your spring tunnel. All right. You can't have it rocked off to the side to where there's a gap between the two. And you can see that on the front of the gun because it's not setting flush. So the new guns have a dot on the reverse plug and a dot on the back top of the spring tunnel. Line up those dots, snaps right in. You guys should be good to go. All right. This is the part that's a little tricky on the 6-inch guns, because the 6-inch guns do take a normal 5-inch recoil spring, so any 5-inch government length recoil spring works in our 6-inch guns. The guns come from the factory with the 45 with a 16 to 18 pound spring rate. On the 10 millimeters, it's a 20 pound spring rate. So the 10 millimeters are a little tougher to get in. But to start, you get the reverse plug in there, come in, I hold on to the front of the slide with my hand. All right, once I got that in there, I capture it, and I can begin the threading of the 2-piece guide rod. Okay, once that's tight, link forward, and you can begin hammer back, line up on the rails, slides right on. You do have to line up the slide stop to make sure you're centered on the link during the installation. Okay, so we know it's good. Line back up to the half moon notch. All right. Okay, everything's working as it should. Do a complete safety check. Make sure she's empty. Safety on. Okay, safety off. With the trigger pressed, take your hand off the grip safety and release. Make sure that grip safety disengages. All right. And with that, that is the complete disassembly and reassembly of our 6-inch models.